So good day to everyone. There is no need to answer, really. Так, сейчас подключу. 20 человек есть. Кто не успел, тот опоздал. So we are having... So today we are going to start the course of lectures concerning text and communication in linguodidactics. And today's lecture will be totally devoted to general questions of linguodidactics. I know that this was a part of your methods of foreign language teaching education, but usually no one likes theoretical questions, so we should return to some theoretical statements and points for the first 2 weeks, and then we will proceed more with practical part of our course. So today we are going to speak about language education at the contemporary stage of social development. So when speaking about language education or linguistic education, there shouldn't be mixture in terminology, because actually this is the same term for the notion языковое образование. Recently, the term language education has been used quite often, but at the same time, there is no common point of view on its content among the scientists and practitioners. So linguistic education is often understood as the process of mastering systematized language skills and abilities that allow one to carry out foreign language activity. In other cases, linguistic education is interpreted as a result of this process or a system of educational institutions in which non-native languages are taught. Such a disagreement of views on the essence of the term language or linguistic education testifies on the one hand to its versatility, and on the other hand to the desire of didactics and methodologies to focus only on certain aspects of functioning language, of functioning of language education, which of course doesn't allow to see the essential characteristics of this phenomenon as a whole. So therefore, in our opinion, it would be correct, taken as the starting point, to analyze this term as multidimensional concept and to consider linguistic education as value, process, result, and system. So aspect division of this analyzed concept doesn't mean violation of its integrity. Moreover, to show its essence as a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, we can only in the unity and complex characteristics of this concept. So we are starting with language education as a value. We've been speaking about the importance of proficiency in modern foreign languages. So if we accept the logic of the scientists, Gershinsky, his reasoning, the language or linguistic education as a value involves the following blocks. So language education is a state value, language education is a public value, and language education as a personal value. Immediately, we note that we are talking about interconnected blocks. Only in the harmony of state, public, and personal interest in the development of language education in the country, giving it priority importance at all levels, it is possible to achieve high quality results in resolving not only some pedagogical problems facing society, the state, education, but also some social and cultural problems. So awareness of language education as a value determines the relevance of the development and implementational means of communication. First of all, we are talking about the languages of global distribution and common human culture, which perform the maximum amount of social functions. So these languages include, for example, English, yes, as a world spread and worldwide language of international communication. If a language is spoken in a number of countries or particular regions, for example, German in not German-speaking countries, this language acquires the status of an interstate language. Language can also play the role of state and local language. As you know, the state and society are not identical concepts. So society may need to learn modern non-native languages. For example, the everyday reality of recent years testifies to the increased status of foreign languages in society. Today, no one doubts the fact that the dynamics of the country's social life and the new goals, scales, so directions of transformations associated with it cause a public need for a larger number of citizens who practically speak one or several modern foreign languages. So while I'm talking, I would like to ask you, without switching on your microphones, just print in the chat box, what languages do you consider the most important foreign languages for contemporary society, except English? So we are not speaking about English. Certainly, its primary role is obvious. We're speaking about other languages. So just to share your opinions, who has such an opportunity? Okay, someone is mating. I need to stop this to let the lead persons come. So once again, in the chat, Chinese, certainly Chinese. Okay, so in the chat box, just write your opinion without any explanations. It's enough just to write the language you considered the most important. Next, we are going maybe to have a little discussion why. And now I am continuing. So today, no doubts about the fact that the dynamics, the speed of social life, and the new goals, scales, directions may cause the necessity to speak more than one foreign language. So knowledge of languages, and especially the languages of international importance as a rule, gives an individual the opportunity to get real chances to occupy a more prestigious position in society, both socially and certainly materially. It is more and more realized that human resources become the wealth of society in modern market economy, and the development of information technologies, which act as the main strategic factor of economic and social progress. Nowadays we're living in a society where the logo or the slogan who possesses the information technologies, he possesses the world, is absolutely true. So, for example, as for my children, they're dreaming not to become a dancer, cosmonaut, or famous actor. They all are bloggers, TikTokers, and I have to live in such realities. So, we are living in a society where language possesses a primary role, not only as a mean of communication, but also as a mean of material wealth. So, among the most important circumstances testifying to the demand for foreign languages in the modern world, we can appoint at least three. So that is the globalization of social integration processes, the interstate integration in the field of education, and the access to experience and knowledge in the world, to great information wealth, to quality education in the country and abroad. At the same time, it is known that the public need for high quality language education due to certain circumstances may not find support at the state level. So the latter is expressed in particular in the lack of understanding by the heads of educational departments of the importance of familiarizing the younger generation with the new means of communication, searching for the necessary material, investment in the field of language education, and so on. Well, I consider that the main problem is really in the gap between educational authorities who are now about 40, 50 years old, yes, and about younger generation, because the spread of technologies is tremendous, and they simply can't focus on that constant changes. They can focus, so they are focusing on one point, and in a couple of years, it became out of fashion or out of trends. And that is why we need to have high speed of changing or assimilating to new technologies, to new progress, to new trends and demands, and in social life, in informational life, and certainly in education. So, insufficient funding from the state of the educational sphere, certainly, which in particular is the period of social development of our country, leads to an outflow of teaching staff from the education sphere and doesn't allow adequately equipping the education process with adequate material and technical means, which naturally negatively affects the quality of linguistic and cultural training of students. This is the last time I stopped demonstration to call someone's in. Все. Фируза обиделась и ушла. Больше я демонстрацию прекращать не буду. Sorry. Если даже кто-то вылетит, то потом будет искать лекцию по ссылке. So, the current situation has quite natural features. The sphere of education as a whole is linked with the socio-economic formation within which it was formed and functioned. So as Simon writes, I need to read it, the very understanding of the relationship between education and society changes with the passage of time, the degree of optimism or pessimism contained in it. If in this case the use of these highly valuable words is appropriate, depends on the economic situation. So in other words, views that emphasize the importance of the role of education find support during periods of economic recovery, while during economic downturns, opposite ideas become popular. As far as we are living in the society where economic downturns are constant and economic recovery are very rare, so the opposite ideas become popular, more popular and popular. So social, political, and economic realities of social development affect not only the status of modern non-native languages, including foreign languages, but also the functions they perform in society. Today, these functions, in a generalized way, can be formulated as following. Establishing mutual understanding between peoples, various or carriers of different languages and cultures, providing access to diversity of world politics and culture, well, I mean in the broad sense, including with the help of new technologies, information technologies. Language and consequently linguistic education act as an important tool for successful life for the person in a multicultural and multilingual community of people. Indeed, at the present stage of the country's development, a stage characterized by deep integration processes in all spheres of public life. Language education acts as a significant medium. It forms the consciousness of individual, his ability to be socially mobile in society, freely enter the open information space. Even under favorable conditions, the state and social significance of language education should be supported by its personally oriented value. So the latter is associated with individually motivated attitude of a person to his own education in general, and language education in particular, to its level and quality. So the personality-oriented value of language education due to the following facts. That is the degree of students' awareness of the importance of any non-native language as a means of communication in the modern multilingual and multicultural world. A clear understanding of the requirements that are imposed on the level of his language training at each education stage, and the technologies that allow him to determine this level. And third, personal need for the study of modern non-native languages and their practical use. So it is the last parameter and not the legal status of a particular language, no matter state, official, working language, or others, that determines the prestige of the language and language education in general for a particular person. At the state social level, the prestige of language education depends on the degree and depth of intercultural integration in specific geopolitical regions, the range of political, economic, and cultural, including ethnocultural needs for international cooperation and international relations. So the creation of such conditions in society will allow to establish ways of reasonable satisfaction of public state and personal needs and interests in the study of modern foreign languages, and may formulate a social order or requirement of the state and society for the linguistic and cultural training of students. We are going to have just a little break for talk right now. Later I am going to read what languages you put into the chat box. And now I would like you to think about one more question. Recently, there was a great argument in social networks about the necessity of IELTS exam for those who entered to get their master and doctoral degree. So whether IELTS is necessary, for example, for masters who are going to study Kazakh language and literature. If there is need for such exam for those who is entering master and doctoral departments. So I just want you to write in brief, once again, to print in brief those who has such an opportunity. What do you think? Whether IELTS is necessary or not? Just few words, not just IELTS necessary. IELTS is unnecessary. Try to be wider in European. IELTS is necessary for everyone or only for foreign languages or something like this. Okay, while you are thinking, I'm continuing. So, next slide, I consider. So the social order is designed to harmonize state, social and personal needs in relation to modern non-native languages. Since, as noted above, in the social, political, economic and other context of the development of, for example, Kazakhstan, knowledge of languages becomes a necessary component of personal and professional life. The requirements of the state and society for the result of linguocultural training of students should be expressed in the ability to use language studied in real intercultural communication. So the focus on intercultural communication links the social order with the solution of the problem of linguistic development of the linguistic diversity in society to the multilingualism of its citizens at the personal level. So at the state social level, linguistic diversity is understood not only to support and develop the languages of global or interstate communication. This concept also includes the protection, strengthening, and development of local languages, regional languages, and minority languages living in a specific territory. So, in turn, the multilingualism of an individual means his knowledge of at least two non-native languages, or as a possession of these languages at different level as a means of intercultural communication with their native speakers. So in this case, it is not necessary to speak about the languages of international communication. It's more prestigious and generally recognized languages used in communication between people of different states. So speaking more about linguistic diversity and cultural diversity, we should consider the most valuable element of the world and European and any country cultural heritage, and as a philosophy of intercultural social interaction in multicultural and multilingual space. So in the political sphere, it is also necessary to recognize that diversity of linguistic communities and cultures should turn from a factor that hinders dialogue between representatives of different cultures into a means of mutual understanding and enrichment. So the starting point in defining the essence of language education as a value is the thesis that the study of any non-native language should be accompanied by the study of culture of people who speak this language, and this process should proceed simultaneously and not in separate paths. In this regard, it would be correct to speak of linguistic education. Oh my God, we will come back. Okay, to speak. Where are you now? Come back to me, come back to me, come back to me. Я на что-то нажала. Не буду я тебя покупать. Sorry. Sorry for this technical inconvenience. So in this regard, we should speak about linguistic education as an aspect not only of linguistic but cultural education, as the result of which we will have as citizens of society realizing their belonging to particular ethnic group, to the region of permanent resident and to the state as a whole, but also capable of self-identification in the world space. If a person is multilingual, regardless of whether we are talking about foreign language or languages of the people who live in Kazakhstan, he should feel proud about this. So, language education as value, that is the problem of harmonizing social and personal needs, urgent in relation to the linguocultural training of students. As for education, as a result, its meaning lies in the fact of appropriation by the individual, the state and society of all those values that are born in the process of educational activity. Thus, the result of language education is determined in three levels: individual and personal, public and state, and general civilization. At the individual personal level, so it is primarily about the knowledge, skills and abilities of each student acquired in the educational process. In this sense, the result is usually assessed during process of teaching and directly from qualitative and quantitative characteristics of language proficiency as a means of communication. But what does it mean, language proficiency? What knowledge, skills, and abilities are we talking about when we are talking about that? That the person knows this or knows that language? So we are going to make a little pause because we have only 6 minutes to the left of this session. I am on the 6th. I'm going to come back to read your comments in chat box, or everything will be lost after that. So let's see at your language choice: French, Chinese, Arabian, Russian. You don't know it? Spanish. I consider your own preferences, Gauhar. Uzbek, why not? Arabian, Chinese, Chinese, Korean, Turkish, Chinese, Turkish, Chinese, German. Так, на первом месте китайский. Yes, we have Chinese at the first place, and then I consider some Eastern languages like Turkish or Arabian, something like this. So IELTS is necessary not only for people who want to continue their first. No, lots of people pass this type of improvement abroad for me to apply for a good job. I reading English and the public educational magazines for those who want to study abroad. When there was a discussion in social networks, one of the reasons that I posted also was the opportunity to publish your scientific results abroad, because no matter what sphere you are studying in, Kazakh language, Kazakh literature, Russian language, Russian literature, geography, chemistry, physics, and so more, you need to publish your results abroad, or the science will be developing only into the depths, but not into the wide range. That's why no matter what sphere you are studying in, IELTS is necessary, certainly, to show the level of your English language possession and, of course, the level you can express your thoughts, not only in oral form, but in written. You can understand the text and so on. So just a little comment from me. Okay. Thank you for your opinions. So we have 4 minutes left, and my Zoom needs additional time to write the session. That's why I'm saying goodbye for you now till 13:40. I'm sorry, you have to come back. We have a little more information to discuss. I'm not going to speak with you for 40 minutes, but maybe about 15 or 20 minutes, something like this. So bye for now. At 13:40, I'm waiting for you. I have 25 minutes, for example, to drink a cup of coffee or tea, or make some exercises after sitting for a long time. Okay, see you next time in 25 minutes.